Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted today to be joined by Vincent Dunlop, co-founder and director of bluewaveSELECT, Lindsey Rowe, Head of Strategic Programs and Purpose at SAP UK and Ireland, and Fiona Warburg, SAP Customer Competency Solutions Hub Lead at Welsh Water and also a Director of the UK and Ireland SAP User Group. So welcome to you all. Today we're going to be talking about the state of the recruitment market in the SAP space. But before we do that, I'd just like to say I hope you're all having a great summer and are managing to get some downtime. I managed to get a week off last week, which was spent sanding, oiling, painting, and believe me, whoever said change is as good as a rest lied. But I'm scheduled for a week touring down in Dorset in a few weeks' time, and I just wondered what your plans are, if you've managed to get away, if you've got any plans to do that. So, Fiona.
Oh, well, this is actually very topical for me because I've got 2 weeks off in September and I'm just trying to work out what to do with it. And am I brave enough to try France? So that's where I am at the moment. It's France or Ireland. Can I do it?
Ooh.
And actually, if I get there, can I get back? So that's where I am.
Fingers crossed you manage to and get home okay. Lindsey?
So same as you, Craig, I've just come back from a few days off last week. And I have to say, it's the first time in a very long time that I was off, genuinely off. And didn't, check emails and all of those sorts of things. And I think it's a real habit that we all get into, especially in the pandemic, because you're never really going anywhere. But I was really strict with myself and went out really early every morning, because normally what I would do would be check my emails and think, well, I'll do an hour every morning and then it will. But I was going out really early and then I'd forget all about it. And so, I was just walking loads and loads. And my dad even noticed on our Fitbits, he said, wow, you've got to 100,000 steps this week and those sorts of things. So I literally just did loads of walking around the area and just not working. But no other future plans. That was quite a feat for me to take some time off. So I'm proud of that.
That's nice, and hopefully some good headspace for you, just to clear the cobwebs and
Exactly.
Back at it nice and fresh. And Vincent, your plans?
Well, I've just come back from a week in Cornwall, Craig, and I'm in the luxurious position of having a great business partner who can do the heavy lifting at work when I'm off. So like Lindsey, I just virtually left the phone unanswered, so it was great. And we just went surfing every day, chilled out, ate well, drank well, and relaxed. It was really good.
Oh, cool. And the beauty of Cornwall is a lot of the beaches and the coves you go to doesn't have any mobile signal anyway, so you really are off-grid.
That is true, but it's really good.
Oh, excellent. So managed to catch plenty of waves.
Yeah, I'm an enthusiastic amateur, so just won't be putting any YouTube videos up soon.
Okay, well, thanks very much for that, everybody. And back to the matter in hand now. With much of the UK opening up as COVID-19 restrictions ease, many organisations seem to be struggling to fill vacancies, with the number of staff available declining at apparently the fastest rate for 4 years, according to some reports. And according to a recent KPMG survey, the IT sector is one area that's facing potential staffing crisis. How true this is in the SAP ecosystem in the UK and Ireland, and what can organisations do to address the challenge is something that perhaps we can discuss now. And last year, our survey revealed that almost half of organisations saw the pandemic slowing down their investment in SAP skills. However, we've seen signs that SAP projects are beginning to ramp up again, and new things are really driving forward, and customers are starting to move forward in maybe stalled projects and new projects now. So, Vincent, how has the SAP skills market changed over the last 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I'd agree with your summary, actually, Craig. But going for the last 12 to 18 months, I'd say they've been the most interesting I can remember, with huge swings in both directions. So after the first lockdown, hiring and available jobs dropped by about 40 and 30% respectively throughout Q2 and Q3. So it's looking pretty tough. But by Q4, things were bouncing back already, which shows the great adaptability of organisations quickly coming to grasp with delivering projects remotely, I guess. But by the end of Q4, we'd nearly almost fully recovered with the jobs and placements. And this year, it's just gone crazy, massively surpassing pre-pandemic levels. So, it is all systems go. And you're talking about things starting to recover. I'd say, they're well on their way. I mean, we're waiting for our final Q2 figures, but I suspect that our recruitment levels will have grown by an extra 50% to what they were a year and a half ago, which just shows, the exceptional resilience and ambitions of SAP users, I think, to just crack on and get on with it. And to put that into context, our growth of around 50% within SAP more than doubles the growth of the wider IT market jobs, which was around 18% at the early part of the year. So as you know, we specialise in SAP only. We want to be the best at it. We love it. We live and breathe it. And we had the biggest quarter since we opened the doors in Q1 this year, which illustrates the bounce back perfectly. And you know what? Since then, we've gone and beaten that record again in Q2. So if we're a bellwether for the SAP industry, it's a really exciting time to be an SAP professional, I'd say.
Oh, that's brilliant, and that's great news. It really is showing, the vibrancy, perhaps, of the market now. And from a SAP customer perspective, Fiona, have you seen any specific challenges at Welsh Water?
Well, I think for us, I did a small amount of recruitment over the pandemic, and actually the benefit for me is because Welsh Water weren't a home working organisation prior. Obviously became a home working organisation very, very quickly, that I've actually been able to look a lot wider than before. So, actually my most recent recruitment, our head office is Cardiff. My most recent recruitment is north of London. I wouldn't have been able to do that before. So also finding quite a lot more contractors turning permie. But I wouldn't be able to tell you what the reason for that was. But I say there are a lot of people that are applying for the roles we've got, which are sort of, ex-people that used to travel here, there and everywhere want to be working from home. And I say, I'm sure a lot more organisations will be providing that now.
Yeah, so the new way of working is really giving you the opportunity to bring more people in from a diverse area around the country.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to employ north of London pre-pandemic.
Okay, and Lindsey, from an SAP perspective, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so I guess from our side is the increase in projects, which naturally for our customers then increases that requirement for those skill sets. So I think, there was a pause for all organisations through the pandemic. No one really knew what to do. But actually now, as things have started to get back to, a sense of normal, people are really, really investing in making sure that their systems are resilient and fit for the future. So I'm really reassured hearing those stats from Vincent, but that's exactly the type of thing we're seeing is, an increase in projects across our partners and also internally for us. So I think, to Fiona's point as well about the geographical side, this made such a difference, even to our own recruitment. So even our student recruitment that we've just done, our biggest probably recruitment in like one batch. We just had our interns join us, and they are all over the country. Because we don't have the same barriers that we've had in the past, or people needing to move. So we've got people all around the country able to join the world of technology. So yeah, we're seeing, that as a huge, huge benefit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so obviously big changes in the way of working, and obviously the pickup in the industry, which is good news. And if I reflect back on the survey again, it highlighted that almost 2/3 of organisations were concerned about a shortage of SAP skills in the future, and more than 3/4 were concerned about SAP skills actually leaving their organisation, probably because being poached by others due to that shortage. Just Fiona, why do you think organisations are concerned, and what do you think they can do to retain the SAP skills they have?
Well, I think, there's definitely a concern out there, maybe less so in South Wales, but where people seem to come, they come and want to stay in the location. But as I say, maybe that will change over time as more and more people allow flexible working. But when you spend so much time getting people to know your system, your ways of working, losing that knowledge and the time it takes to get somebody back on board, back up to speed with how you've customized your system, it's a lot of cost and time for an organization to lose people. I mean, I'd like to think, so far, touch wood, within my team, we haven't actually lost anybody recently. Well, actually, since I've joined. But I like to think some of that's down to we do allow an amount of flexible working. We've got a good team environment, and we keeping them interested but not overly challenged. So that's, for me, what I think has been working well.
Oh, excellent. And from the market perspective, Vincent?
For retaining staff, so I
absolutely, that, you can advise.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Fiona. People are used to flexible working now. Don't stop it unless you need to. I mean, you can save some office space money anyway. But I would say, we would normally say the mantra recruit, train, retain, but I would do it the other way around. I'd train, retain and recruit if you need to. There's not many recruiters will say that, but training for me, especially if you're an ECC house wanting to go to S4, you've got people in the team who know the business, and that's invaluable. So get them on a training course, they'll feel valued. Let them know the roadmap, even if it's not for a few years, because they will get tapped on the shoulder and say, come and work on this ECC from the ECC to S4 project. And that's really appealing, because SAP professionals are really into SAP. We find they're very passionate about it, and they want to get that latest project experience. But even if you're not ready as an organisation, just let them know the plans, like communicate. And you'll retain people longer if they think that the move to S4 is at the end of 2023 or something like that.
Thank you. And anything that you can add to that, Lindsey?
Yeah, I think that retrain bit is something we're seeing across the industry, not just at SAP. So there was a study done last year actually that was focused on people that are in non-tech roles. Over half of them are now considering a complete change of career. So they've seen maybe the instability in the industry that they're in because of the pandemic, and they're seeing that the only one that appeared to be stable was the tech industry. So to see that, that study, it was with CW Jobs and Tech UK, that was really encouraging. I know that the government did a lot of campaigning around retrain. I don't think it landed so well because it was a bit delivered perhaps a bit insensitively. If you're a ballet dancer, suddenly retrain as a cyber security expert, so really affect people. But actually, talking to individuals, they've really started to realise the depth of the career opportunities in tech as well. I think people are really starting to realise that it's not just a kind of in the corner geeky thing to be doing or anything like that. They've realised actually this is a lucrative industry to get into, and also an area where you will be continually developed and you'll get in those opportunities. So a bit to Fiona's point around people really liking the environment they're working in, and that there's more exciting projects coming. That's what they seem to really thrive on. And we certainly see that in the student market and the kind of early graduates. They love to be involved in sort of innovation projects and those sorts of things. And they're really just enthusiastic to getting involved in in SAP. So a lot of the work that we're doing is about how do we inspire that really in the early education level, not even just at university, but what can we be doing in schools and those sorts of things, just so that it's not a quick fix. There's lots of things that need to be done, and one of those will be how do we inspire them to want to come into technology. Someone was sharing, I can't remember what the study was now, but that you really need to be inspiring before they're about 11. So you actually need to almost be getting into primary education, especially for girls, to get them inspired. And once they are inspired, you can't get them unhooked, which is good.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying this episode of SUGTalks. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you that our UKISUG Connect conference is back. Join us as we present Vision 2021, planning for the future at the ICC in Birmingham from the 28th to the 30th of November. With keynotes, 12 breakout streams, over 70 exhibitors and networking events, all aimed at driving success for the SAP community, make sure you attend the premier SAP-related event in the UK and Ireland. We're going above and beyond government and public health guidance to ensure the event is delivered in a safe and secure environment for you. We look forward to welcoming you back to Birmingham, where we can all learn and develop together. To learn more, visit sapusers.org/connect.
And just staying on in that SAP world, if you like, some of the concerns that came from members is about the legacy skills, and knowledge leaving SAP. And is SAP seeing anything of that? Or, as we're looking at the move to S4 and all the other kind of digital platforms, if you like, and the digitalization of business going forward, is there a risk that those legacy skills are perhaps waning out? And, is there anything SAP is doing to retain such skills and knowledge?
Yeah, I think talking to customers, but also internally, is always a worry, because you get this point in time where people are starting to retire. We've also seen people retiring maybe earlier than they'd planned because of the pandemic, actually sort of seeing, take just an opportunity to take stock of their lives. But actually, it's what we've seen work really well for individuals that have got that real vast experience or legacy skills. How can they be used as mentors to newer people coming in, so that you identify that those skills are still required and how those can actually be handed over? But also looking at more flexible working opportunities. So people don't necessarily, it doesn't need to be you either work or you retire. So I think we're going to see a lot more people looking for flexible kind of part-time type opportunities going forward as well, so that you're not completely losing that. And that's, again, going to be of benefit to the organisation and the individual. And having really upfront conversations with people that are later in their career. I think it's really easy to think, we'll talk about people's development and their career aspirations early on in their career. And then as they get later into the career, it's just like, they must know what they want, and it's for them to determine. But actually, the conversations have really helped us, and I'm sure, hopefully for our customers as well, to really see that it doesn't have to just be just retire as part of it. And we also see individuals who want to stay on as kind of coaches as well, so take a completely different track and become coaches and mentors in that space. So a bit of, rather than they're on site doing the projects, but equally as well, the fact that people don't have to necessarily travel as much for programs has allowed them to to flex as well. But I definitely think the idea of making sure you don't just have all new talent coming in and, let's say, focusing purely on S4, you have to have that background as well. You have to understand where a customer was to be able to be helping them successfully on a project. I saw that in a previous company as well, where we started actually doing this, moving people from traditional telephony to Zoom, at the time, Teams and Skype and all those sorts of things. If you don't have the background to know what it was like before, it's hard to have the empathy with the project teams that's part of it.
Oh, nice. I like that. That if you like, we talked about almost like a semi-retirement thing. And that was kind of had in my mind a bit of work in the morning, either the pub garden or your own garden in the afternoon, and then whatever in the evening. Maybe not the other way around, the pub through the morning and then working in the afternoon. But and that mentoring and coaching, I do really like that. And just moving on to S4HANA now, we're looking at obviously standard maintenance for Business Suite 7 ending 31st December 2027. Organisations obviously facing that decision now on when and to move to S4HANA. And beyond simply making the business case for the upgrade, organisations also have to factor in the availability of skills for both the implementation, management of S4. And this is kind of adding further complexity to their skills gap. And Vincent, from your perspective, what seem to be the S4HANA skills most in demand, and will supply ultimately meet demand?
Well, it'll ultimately have to, Craig, I think. So just to answer that very narrow question of the most in-demand skills that we're seeing at the moment for S4 projects, because it's a fit as standard approach rather than ECC, which was often heavily bespoked. There's a high demand for solution architecture skills to put it in, but also on the business process re-engineering side and change management side of implementation. So what we would call the softer side of projects. I'm not saying for S4HANA it's just plug and play, you stick it in and that's it. But really, with ECC, you used to change SAP to fit your existing business processes, and now it's flipped. So effectively, the tail is wagging the dog, and the business processes have to meet S4. So yeah, there's lots of business analysts, process change management training, and that.
Excellent, and that kind of does resonate quite well. One of the key things we're doing this year is creating a paper on the cost of change, because that is a huge piece we see. And Fiona, from a customer perspective, what are you seeing there?
So I suppose the water industry is sort of split depending on how you put your AMP cycles together. So what happened with Welsh Water particularly was we've run out of money. So for us, S4 is next AMP, which is 2025, whereas you see other water utilities have either started or secured the money for this cycle. I suppose bigger in the UK is exactly what you were talking about, Craig, about others already ramping up for S4. But I think for Welsh Water, we've started with, because they talk about, you've got the digital core, but you've got success factors, C4C, BTP, these are all skills that we're trying to train up or get from our partners. So, and it's interesting what Lindsey was saying there also about the legacy skills. So we are a heavy asset management company, which is probably classed almost as legacy now, plant maintenance. But to secure the guy that's got the most knowledge, I've done exactly what Lindsey was talking about, and he's working 7 days over 10. So part-time, and it's working perfectly. He's starting to mentor a business analyst as well so eventually we'll get our BA coming over. So it's trying to juggle. It's not just for me S4, it's the whole landscape. And I hope that resonates with others, as I say, because we're not just looking at S4, it's all the technologies now that SAP have got.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Lindsey, anything to add?
Yeah, it's great to hear that that's already working for you, and you've seen that. So it's because sometimes you think like these great things, and then it's like, what does that actually, resonate out there and work? And I think, like you say, S4 is a big part of it, and there's lots and lots of discussion around worries about S4 gaps. But it's not just those areas. It's making sure that the skills are there for BTP or any of the other cloud solutions as well. So, but again, I think it's those extra areas that are becoming really attractive to individuals to want to get into, especially some of the cloud solutions, the e-commerce side of it as well. So certainly for younger graduates coming out into the market as well, which, to your point, Craig, looking at the cost, naturally, if you're able to supplement your resources with some at apprentice and graduate level, then you're able to balance the costings a lot more, rather than just purely thinking about needing expert level. So I think getting that blend is going to be crucial to managing that cost aspect too.
Mm-hmm. And you touched on earlier as well about career enhancement and progression as people go through life, etc. And you have a lot of these, if you like, sexier technology elements. You hear about the Google, the Amazon, the Microsoft, etc. All of these sexy technology companies, so to speak. What's SAP doing really to drive itself up there to really promote the benefits of a career in SAP? Because from my perspective, I've been around the world of SAP for a lot of years, and I've seen many people make fantastic careers and a brilliant living out of the world of SAP. So what's SAP doing to promote that, Lindsey?
It's interesting you say about those companies. I was on a call the other week and someone used the term FANG. So it's Facebook, Apple, Netflix and Google, the fangs of the tech world, right? They're, as you say, the kind of sexy ones and that sort of thing. So hopefully it'll be fangs and SAP will make the S, right? But I don't know. I think for us, as I say, getting in probably at the university level where they are about to make choices. So I'd say the early education is about the world of tech. And then if we want specifically SAP, it's really at the sort of A-level and university piece. I think it's seeing role models, people that are kind of early to mid-career, so it seems achievable. Sometimes what we've done in the past is actually say, oh, look at this person, they've had this wonderful career, and they're thinking, what, is it going to take me 30 years to get there? Because if it is, that doesn't feel achievable. So getting them to see younger role models. A great example, actually, the ERP awards that are coming up. We've got one of our pre-sales graduates, and she's got through to the finals as part of that. And I think people seeing, oh, actually, that person started their career, they're getting trained up to also be an accountant as well, so that companies actually are investing in those individuals beyond the skills that they offer. That's been a big part for us, is seeing relatable role models. I think the other part as well is making sure that we get across all universities. So one of the things that I'm really keen on is that there is no hierarchies of universities. I think a lot of employers sometimes have got themselves into a bit of a trap. Let's go for the Red Bricks or the Russell Groups or these top universities. Actually, you're going to get much more diversity, from diversity of thought, social mobility, and all of those sorts of things, if you're open to all universities, and you've just got a much bigger pool of talent. We work with Enactus as well, who have a massive university network, and so they do a lot of promotion there, so that they're sort of hearing about SAP through different projects rather than just a classic careers fair, because the students don't actually relate all that way well to that. They'll come along because you can get some swag and different great pens and maybe some cool stuff, but actually it's when they hear about an organisation multiple times. And I think the final part for us about inspiring them into the world of SAP is about our purpose. Individuals now, it's not just about the salary and all of those things. Of course, it's important. They do need to consider it. They want to make sure they're joining a company that's in line with their own values. So that's an important part of our messaging. And we get them involved in those purpose projects so they can actually take part in competitions and start to think about developing tech for good. And that, again, inspires them that actually they'd be doing things that aren't just, I guess, kind of classic coding and those sorts of things. So it's lots of prongs almost. There's not one answer to it, but I think a big part of it is opening up, not having barriers, not having you need a first, you must have a 2-1, all of these things, because actually it's about the people, the attitude, the desire behind them. And then obviously with apprenticeships, you're increasing it even more because you're not even then needing universities.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And as we come to the close now, that quite an interesting comment there that, and I think we've seen that, one size certainly doesn't fit all, as, different organisations have different requirements, and they all need to address their skills challenges in their own way. And just in closing now, are there any tips you would give, Fiona, to an organisation when it comes to helping attract and retain SAP skills?
Actually, I think I'll go exactly where Lindsey's just sort of finished off with. Purpose, to me, is get them to align to, sell what your organisation's about, to me, and be honest and upfront. I think it was something maybe Vincent or Lindsey said earlier about, don't oversell, because they'll only come in and be disappointed. Don't say we're doing S4 next year if it is 2-3 years off. And I'm honest about where we are with Welsh Water. You don't want them coming in thinking they're going to get everything day one. So those are, to me, two things.
Thank you. And Vincent, what do you try and push out there, obviously, when you're recruiting for roles?
For me, I'd say the SAP skills or technical ability are the table stakes. What are you going to raise with? And for me, we always promote the culture, because people will stay within the organisation if it's a good culture fit. So using Blue Wave as an example, we recruit on our culture rather than track record in recruitment, and we've not lost any of our staff for about 2.5 years. So, I think it is aligning the candidate that you're going to recruit and make sure it's the right sort of fit that'll be longevity, because you can train people once they've hit the ground.
Thank you. And Lindsey, just to finish off, are there any useful resources from SAP that we can point our listeners to?
Yeah, actually, really, really good question. I think, again, it's about people, if it's about even starting people out, like right now, it's the summer school for Open SAP. So Open SAP being literally that, open to absolutely everybody to start taking part. And again, not all of that's technical. We've got one that's focused on the circular economy. So people that are really interested in sustainability and purpose, they can go onto those courses. Also, for those with Learning Hub, the opportunities to develop and go along a path, starting kind of an awareness level all the way up to full competency is really important for individuals. And I think just the resources sometimes of our website. I know that sounds like a really basic one, but actually it's one of the richest areas for us to see the developments and what's going on in the space, and a lot of the community pages, and of course the work that's going on within the user group communities, actually just really getting part of that, because I think the most valuable thing you can do is hearing from other customers. As much as obviously SAP people love you to listen just to us, I think that's where it feels like, someone else has done this, they're going through it, and hearing about their journeys. So I think in terms of resources, big one, for anyone that's listening, let's say you've got someone tuning in that's not part of the SAP world, get onto Open SAP. For customers that have got Learning Hub, really looking at that, but as well, just get out there, talking, networking will make such a difference.
Excellent, thank you. And yes, I agree. There's such a vast. We talked about throughout this discussion the upskilling, the training, the development, and Open SAP Learning Hub and the user group and engaging in the community are fantastic areas to get engaged with to help you through that. So look, thank you all, Fiona, Lindsey, Vincent, thank you very much for your time and for your insights. And also for listeners, you can find our skills white paper, which was developed and released last year on the user group website under the resources page, which has some great tips around how you can manage the skills resources within your organisation. And thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. So until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and of course, keep washing your hands.